All right, so Ray, we have Nissan that's going to be cutting some jobs, and what their CEO said is that they are in emergency mode, and I think they are really now trying to steal our headlines because they shouldn't be saying things like emergency mode, panic mode. That okay, they have to do things right now to fix the problems that are going through, and it seems like so. With Nissan, it's interesting to me because they offer some cheaper cars. You
Yeah.
can go to a Nissan store and you can get a $21,000 to $25,000 car. And this is what we've been talking about for so long in the car market, that affordability is the biggest issue. Well, maybe it's not, because Nissan offers this affordable product, but still it seems like they're having a hard time moving. And what do you have to say about this?
Well, the first thing I thought when I saw that headline is, yeah, maybe they're preparing to start a YouTube channel by using the phrase emergency mode. Um, what Nissan has been able to prove over the course of time is that if you produce junk vehicles at a cheap price, it becomes harder to sell them. People want to believe that they're buying quality regardless of the price point. And the reputation of Nissan over the last decade or so, especially with their CVT J-code transmissions, is that there's an issue, a known issue that they've really done nothing about. And so they're producing relatively inexpensive cars, um, for a group of people that no longer want to spend the type of money it takes to get those cars with those quality issues. That's what it says to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's like I'm a used car dealer. I go to these dealer auctions all the time, and there are certain cars that will just go just dirt cheap at these auctions because dealers don't want to touch them because
Yes.
they know that they are junk cars. And one of the biggest, easiest examples is any Nissan Altima that's a 2007 or newer. Now, I will buy a 2002 to 2006 Nissan Altima with a 2.5 motor all
Yeah.
day long. They put regular transmissions in those things, and the motors were really good. Those cars can last 250, 300,000
Yeah.
miles, and we will buy them all day long. And a 2005 Nissan Altima with a 4-cylinder motor will go for thousands of dollars more than a 2007 Nissan Altima with the same amount of miles. And it seems like it shouldn't go that way because it's a 2-year newer model. But no, it's because dealers are hands off. And I wonder if it's getting to consumers that, okay, Nissans, they have these CVT transmissions. And even if it's not a problem now, which we know that maybe build quality is not the greatest out of Nissan even currently, but
Mhm.
even if it wasn't the case, perception, we talk about perception so much on this channel, that perception is greater than anything else that you can overcome in the car market. And if the perception is that Nissan makes a bad product, it doesn't matter what the price point is, almost, is that okay, consumers are not going to buy it and they're going to go to Toyota, where you can, instead of that Altima, you can go into that Camry. Well, when I was talking
Mhm.
about that $21,000 price point, that's a Versa, but you can go into that Corolla that's $27,000, and a consumer is just going to pay that $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more to get in that Corolla, where the perception is that these are good cars, whereas the Nissan Versa, there's a perception that Nissan is not a good vehicle.
Yeah, perception is reality, and
Right.
if the customer's perception is that Nissans are a lower quality Japanese vehicle with real quality control issues and real transmission issues, and every YouTuber talks about it. And if you check with your independent mechanic, they're going to go, well, you want to stay away from a Nissan with the CVT transmission. Well, at a certain point, that perception that it is a poor quality vehicle becomes the reality for people who are considering it. And even at a cheap price point, people are passing on it because they know ultimately The fact that it's cheap now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be cheap later when they have to put a new transmission in it. So they have quality issues that they have to overcome. They have profit issues that they have to overcome. They're in emergency mode. They have to lay off or fire or let go 9,000 workers out of their 135,000 employee workforce. The CEO is going to take a 50% pay cut. Bless his heart. He's the only CEO of an automobile manufacturing company that's struggling, that's saying, well, it happened on my watch, so it should impact me as well. So bless him for that. He has the wherewithal to say, hey, part of it's me, and I can't get paid what I was supposed to get paid if I'm the one running it into the ditch. So you just have a situation where you look around and you go, are they going to be able to survive? And that, to me, is the ultimate question when you talk about Nissan.
So I want to pull this up. It said that U.S. incentives are undermining profits, but this is, if you're not selling cars, this is exactly what the brand has to do. They have to have incentives. They have to put cash on the hood. They have to do things to get butts in seats. Yeah. And I mean, they're dropping production. I feel like in Nissan's case, they're doing all the right things where we should see the same things coming out of Ford. We should see the same things coming out of Stellantis. But it feels like to me, even though they are doing all the right things, you mentioned their CEO taking a pay cut. This is something that a consumer or a shareholder would love to see from a company that's not doing so well. But it feels like exactly what you're saying. It's like the product's not there to back up all these right decisions that they're making. It doesn't matter how cheap you make it. It doesn't matter how much money that you put on the hood, how much money you take off the car. If you don't make a good product, I mean, you could only, there's always a saying in the car market, you can only polish a turd so much. A turd is still a turd. Yep. You can clean it up, but if it's a bad car, it's still a bad car.
Maybe put your money where your mouth is. And what do I mean by that? Say, okay, we understand that over the last decade or so that we've had some real issues concerning the CVT transmissions that we utilize in our product. We will put a unlimited mileage, unlimited year warranty on those transmissions. When we started this conversation about golf clubs, and when I had my golf store, I had a fellow come see me, and he had a brand of golf clubs I had never heard of. Mitsubishi, not Mitsubishi, Mitsubishi. And they were literally the second or third largest golf club manufacturer in the world. But nobody ever heard of them because they manufactured the heads and the shafts for all the other golf club companies. Their pitch to me was, we only do graphite shafted clubs, and we will warrant the shaft in every club as long as someone owns it. And if there's ever a problem with the shaft in any of those clubs, we'll replace it free. So I thought to myself, well, even if I have to be sending these golf clubs back to Mitsubishi every 3 weeks to get the shafts replaced, my customer is going to be taken care of. Well, as it turned out, I never had a shaft go bad. It was a great price leader club. They were relatively inexpensive. It was a rather large Chinese concern that owned the company, and they actually built a good product. But the selling point was them saying to me, it's a lifetime unlimited warranty on the shaft. And so I felt confident selling it to my customers. Nissan has to do the same thing with that transmission. It's a lifetime unlimited warranty on that transmission. At least you would encourage people to consider the product again. And then in the meantime, go find yourself better transmissions to put into your cars. improved
Yeah,
the
I
quality.
don't know that they would be able to afford putting their their name behind those transmissions. Knowing what I know and seeing Rogues go through, seeing Altimas go through, like their transmissions are always cooked. 150,000. Like I'm looking at cars
Yes.
when they start hitting 150,000 miles. That gets into my wheelhouse. That's when I start figuring out which cars are reliable, which ones aren't, which ones I want to sell to my customers, and which
Mhm.
ones I don't. We don't buy Rogues. We don't buy 2007 and up Nissan Altimas. I've bought them a couple times before because they were going through cheap, and I have paid every single time. And it's a instance where we either have to put in a brand new transmission or we got to send that thing right back to auction because they are absolute trash. So I don't think that's something that Nissan's going to be able to do. I mean, it's a great that's a great line for them to stand behind a transmission like that, but it's not going to make dollars and cents worth at the end of about 7 or 8 years, especially when I'm seeing what's coming through what the 7 and 8 year old ones that I'm seeing with 150,000 miles. It seems like
Maybe,
every single one of them is gone.
maybe you do that for just the original owner.
That would make more sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
And at least that way you might be able to get butts and seats. In the meantime, you work on finding a different transmission supplier, someone that doesn't have the known issues that this current supplier has, and you start to build a slightly better quality vehicle that people would then go for.
All right. Well, a lot of you might not realize this, but this is a brand new channel. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and let us know what you want us to talk about.
One of the things that made Hyundai popular and Kia popular before they became really popular was, well, they had the longest warranty in America. It was 10 years, 120,000 miles to the original customer only.
Right.
But they pushed the hell out of that. They were basically saying to the customer, even if it's crap, we're going to cover it for the first 10 years and 120,000 miles if you're the original owner. That gave people enough peace of mind to say, okay, I'll entertain that Hyundai or I'll entertain that Kia, where they wouldn't have beforehand.
So what year did you get out of dealerships?
What's 7 years ago?
7 years ago.
2017?
2017. So you were
Yeah.
dealing with Nissan CVT issues then.
Yes.
Yeah. So this has been a known issue since mid 2000s. Like that's when all the CVTs came out onto the
Yes.
scene. Why is it? Why did they not change? Or is this why we're dealing with this situation right here with Nissan right now? Is because they were so reluctant to change, and it was a company that was stubborn and they wanted to do things the way that they wanted to do it, even though they had to know things were bad.
Oh, of course they knew. You think their engineers didn't know? You think the staff did? They knew. It's not like they didn't know. And there are some CVTs that are good transmissions. We had as a family, we had a 2011 Subaru Outback that had a CVT in it. Dara ended up with that car. It was my wife's car before she passed away, and my daughter Dara ended up with that car. And she and her husband, they kept it. It was when they finally got rid of it. It was, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old with 150,000 miles on it. Never once did they have a transmission issue. Never once. So there are some good CVTs. Just, the ones that Nissan picked are not those.
Well, here's a good question that I'm interested in because I think that a lot of these cars that aren't getting sold could possibly go this route. And it said, does Nissan rely on fleet sales to rental companies more than others? And I think they're just talking about other companies maybe that aren't struggling so much. Are they going to lean more into fleet sales, trying to get rid of some of these vehicles? I know that the Nissan dealership that I'm pretty close to, they sell a lot of Rogues for fleet. They don't sell very many Rogues, it seems like, to consumers. But I've seen rows of Nissan Rogues sitting behind their building that were designated to be for fleet sales. So with these manufacturers, if they have vehicles that they're having a really hard time selling, you think Rogues in particular right now with Nissan, because of the incentives on Rogues, is absolutely insane because they can't sell them. Are they going to lean more to try to get them into fleets? Is that an easy way for them to get them out of their hands?
Is it an easy? It's a way. Is it the way of choice? No, they prefer not to, but they have used that off ramp to lower their inventories. It is the off ramp of last resort. They don't really want to be the ones that are selling all their excess inventory to rental car fleets. But if ultimately that's the only way they can get rid of the vehicles, then that's what they're doing. They would prefer to find retail customers as opposed to fleet customers. And as we know, fleet sales have declined recently. There's just not as many of them. The fleets are kind of filled up. Inventory levels have grown to the point where they're approaching pre-COVID levels again. So it becomes harder and harder to use fleet as your off ramp of last resort. But yes, Nissan has done that when they've had to, when their dealers have just said no more, we can't take any more. They have turned to their fleet customers to bail them out, and I'm sure those fleet customers got some pretty damn good deals on those vehicles to take them off of Nissan's hands. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, tell every living person you know that they need to subscribe to Car Sense with Brandon and Ray.